Maneva na say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo.
Your friend is a one hour coffee no. Very often a buy a party on or your friend saying or the tender na bar. Na what individuals mom will apply. Instead of say buy no coffee buy no be sibjem so coffee no. You will have to buy through some entities.
Okay.
And the entities now, when you are buying by your Jumano, there are certain standard beer as a war.
Okay.
So for instance, me see person me the motorway, Emma your friend saying contract, man 4 year. But me share quite motorway now. We share quite different from all other road. Different because they're a concrete road. And to be person me build that particular way, I know the capacity of contractors in this country.
Okay.
So I'm looking at in your beer, the beer, or beauty mean and now or asphalt. But obia okura certain expertise in concrete, your friends road building.
Right.
So ebasa obesha my man or ha sankrofo for the beer or monos wom. So you restrict the tender say answer na betimi apply say obeye motorway no. You should be a campaigner. I want to come to concrete way why you be for a number of years or experience. And now the budget involved is so huge. Until finance and then as a form financial guarantee now the should be maybe a huge sums of money because the cost involved. No, I say yatama mawa no. And then the China bank for fan that kind of way. Cost sanema way. So sanema way na in a wider consideration, you know. Yeah, Public Procurement Act, you know. You categorize money into various sections. Eto you fra adebi competitive tendering. Sa buying person kwaya dia ubie mo obi anya ho akwanya. So that is the default position of the procurement law. Enti aban person kwaya dia won fan hye dan mu mfra wunuanom anase obinum ese obiem to ho wo advertise ma obi ahu na nipa no obi obetimi submit sometime come with certain guidelines be requirement be we go through all the boxes na take him now qualify no your Ghana ni company you can apply and go. And at the same embrana emma ho kwan ma yes anema no. Omotena se ahu say there can always be an emergency. There can always be a situation. For instance, Alaska, ya da sorry sesia na your friend is saying ade kwan be nkra na you very busy e okroma. Mfa say circle road no.
Okay.
BBBS earthquake bias na mu ache say 2 sa kwan no a blockade the whole Accra will choke. Okay. So you need to expedite the process to ensure that that particular road will be fixed within a period. In that particular sense, then you have na be a tender. No. Okay. So you can go for sole sourcing because of the urgency of the situation and the said circumstance necessity. And look at who be ma. A man for by apply review in as a phone no. The human cost ne nema effect about minus on the so such emergency situation, you know, and you create within the law until section 40 in the downwards way now. Amount certain categorization so your friend said those limited sourcing, you know, what is sole sourcing. Sole sourcing, no, your friend say identify a particular company with a particular expertise. Other companies may not have it, and then as a for instance, Bank of Ghana done or more seen a name. And so to uncle Babiness a likini so number be room. Alaska. So Okasa will take up maintenance, your friend is saying, oh, your maintenance, our building, no one. The first company that will become a viable option, a company no see dino. Okay. Because on why you Juma or home paying, only the map out, the layouts, everything. So person we Juman agent, Lobetimia Yama on 10. So in such situation, you know, you may be compelled and you can rationalize it within the context of section 40 of the law. Okay. And me baba road no so road contractor mo kan wasem no Alaska so sourcing nan Kenya the bonnet. But in recent times, you nim say ya abuse no. And adia ba ko MPP as a political party NTC and say na a man for entry or form because of sole sourcing. Okay. It was because the sole sourcing availability in the law, no, that caveat, no, was severely abused. They misuse it. Because Public Procurement Authority boss and ankasa to one and all contract don't come. So credibility, integrity, no. So people were not actually criticizing them because omo sole sourcing because reasons in name no more de sole sourcing no na sabi na nyansa bia nim. And I know the day, no. it resulted in corruption, it resulted in scandals, it resulted in adwuma nipa ni technical expertise and ye dia ma no na oye. And no na man for be raise concern say no. I don't even though the law creates allowance and room for soul sourcing, but ye has kwanya mo fa so amoye na, you are abusing the process. So it doesn't mean say in the future will be use soul sourcer. E just say wafun emra na say because Makata says section 40 of the law no it created that allowance, and that allowance no make it so easy. And then road minister there where yes, morally no you can argue say or you're criticizing in the past into why you more now morally he's wrong, but the question is legally can you find any legal infraction if you are committing? Right. There is no legal infraction, and politically there is no your friends say political incorrectness in this particular decision. The only thing about me can say okay and I want you, but the question is manna Alma road on has it caused some sort of a scandal or there come obia wakofa party near only expertise no their mano. We see some of these questions, and you see, the entire road contract now be too many in this particular regard. I'm for you who can say, Alaska road no unlike in the past. Yet me far every Accra to Kumasi na the one contractor. Okay. No da hon 1 year or year. Obe we ni chia say Accra Kumasi road no ku 4 time 2000 ho ba bi no mo sha say the road no ma contractor. Be sin na yegusu ye Accra Kumasi road because contractor na kwaji ata na ni na e dia ma no na ote ho and on to me oh ya na chi say and this time round no one of the innovative ways aban dia ba ne say instead of say maybe 100 kilometers ya be ma one contractor no yan limiting e make sure at least 30 40 to 3 different way there will be competition among them. Edu who say yes so saucy we na do so woman you might be thinking say several other contract by a short contract within a long one contract and as a one block and you bubu my short expedite the development. And see how to anima the most significant and the most fundamental thing I will come and say there is road construction going on everywhere in this country. Across the country. Over the weekend, because Sunyan called Brekum called Drobo, your friend say Alaska, I can tell you say from Kumasi to Brekum to Sunyan to Drobo, almost all the way to Sampa. The road contractors was also more yakwan. And the President Mahama can say or turn Ghana into a construction site, you know. It is true because the contractors are there. Road, no, most of them are asphalt crown or whatever contract. So you see, there is a difference between Obia or you see road contract, you know, as an avenue to yes, monetize cronies. No more musika, na sikano, sika ni ho na ye the contractor, manipano so adwuma na onye. But this time round, you know, the person has a short period of 4 years just to ensure that particular Monday. Alaska, ma William Fisher. Say I'm no say. A man for GDA or a mamuomu akofomo. So the John Mahama government way is to revive that trust and confidence, and that means that you need to do things differently. I am not sitting here seeking to justify soul sourcing and as a form. But Alaska, once it is done in the way, ebe buama Ghana for. And Ghana for kind of problems have been fixed, you know. I'm not sure that unless say we are able to say oh road minister cause NDC for contractors, not the contract na more. And as a road minister, afan incro for the financiers. You see, when these people are doing some of these audits, sometimes you know the haste they need to sit down, do proper research. Now who asks all the questions around it? Now who say? As someone made it was not only be making moral argument, but rather there are legitimate political grounds at what the bar. But to say under Akufo-Addo it was criticized. The soul sourcing is a legal creation. It is in the act. And then as a form, but the question is has it been abused? Okay. Has the person awarded to somebody own deserve? Has it been awarded to cronies? And as a price involved in this contract, you know, you're inflating, because I didn't about Ghana for chrono. But as long as people are on the road, people are working, and long road way, you know, you're cutting into pieces just to ensure several other contractors. And one significant thing about this John Mahama big push initiative, they say Alaska, almost all the contracts have been awarded to local contractors. Local contractors? Yes, Ghana for the donor and the road, you know. Good. Making sure the local content no so representation. I'm a Ghana for a human because road construction over the years. yakɔ China kɔ bobo sen ya ba sika no na chim ne ya de kɔ ya friends ne de ama Brazil for China for no mo ya wia na de sika no kɔ Brazil for ba nkrofo no mo ye circle road ne say Brazil loan ye kɔje ye ana mo ade mo contractors di akire omo ye wia na mo asan sika no kɔ back
the sika no eni
exactly so there is a new mix I making sure say local contractors here no also benya access to do some of this thing and it has been spread across ya obia beje bia ye in a manner ye betimi aye no tentem because road construction over the years major problem is what chance na wo ya na wanya careful obekọ wanim no ba na wachi nyina asai because one person da ho sometimes the human resource and understand enye enough and again me santi asamba ko we say okwahwehwe nkrata mu no construction companies ni bi wo ha
I'm a workers here for.
Which is not true. Alaska, there is no construction company. Our registrar general workers or no mu ye adwuma omu dingu ewo registrar. So you see where they are mixing the argument. There is no construction. Do kasa me ko registrar general ko hair company no. Companies are already incorporated, but even 2 or 3 people can incorporate a company. 2 or 3 people. Because directors in na se for and sometimes no wunya ebi oha accountant and few people account just to register because the deed for incorporation and your crowd na yede. So the mere fact is company has been registered by 3 or 4 people no doesn't mean say on the ground now on construction company be nipa for betimi ayama na ye. And some of this company when you go to the roadside in Alaska what they do is say obi oha oti the company based for outsourcing on bede for obi abede for no and that is what Ibrahim Ahama over the years was doing in the mining industry. He was not bidding for contracts. Now bigger contracts then they will outsource because he has the capacity to do some of the construction companies so the mere fact is that doesn't mean and that's what they do most of them when you then they hide the resources, the human capacity. There are companies almost they have the human resource, they even have equipment in
it is just like mining.
Yeah, so it's a chain. So you don't say company back for workers. No further check, no further we not about one thing. Not spread because we want to achieve a certain political score. I think some of these things are cheap propaganda. Yes, and next time people might not take you serious. Me, fourth estate is one entity. Over the years, they've been doing well. More boy in our fight against corruption. And you see, it's a human institution. They can get certain things wrong at any point in time. But that doesn't also mean say, no, that's a moye mistake. We cannot correct, and I say we cannot also push them. You understand? Because construction company there, unko registrar general kwaje nkrata na. The workers here 100 and 100 ninyina dingu nkrata so and I say most of them establishment no kwa waka kotuni paka kreba onya adwuma ni wia then they bring in these other people just to boost their capacity and other stuff to move on. There are some equipment now big mining companies and they high equipment when they are on job working. What I say. So some of these things and there are things there we need to situate the contest, the discussion, the contest that link it to the current situation because the big push infrastructure the winner John Mahama de Bani already it is in an expedited form. All con intentem just to ensure say you bet me a tool your road infrastructure. Yes, you take it time open tender man for yen and for now. But the justification and other stuff are also there by say most of the road no be in the past 100 kilometers. You bet me that one contractor. That particular one contractor they will be for some reason within section 40 you ever think that man on sole sourcing base. But because you're breaking into about 5 or 6 then instead of one sole sourcing it becomes how many 6 sole sourcing. So what's in China we understand sole sourcing baby but in reality a short interval road and the other contractor various individuals with a capacity just to ensure that within a short period now you're quite him. So Alaska, I think that is very important just to put all these things in a context. Me, I'm urging them. Say the President Mahama Sikai, so any evidence beyond the mere fact say it's just so sourcing. No mu when him say corruption because I think corruption sir. They are criticizing in the past. People were using it as an avenue to steal. So who say because the mere fact say so source in Ankasano, even President Kwan Timinjina so Prime Minister no because nya bone. Because within the section he can rationalize it. And if there is anything to amend that, I think that the Procurement Act in the moment here because that act is almost a useless act.
So the question one may ask and they say based upon then and I want to me I can say corruption be happening because one in the past years you know I Auditor General and to me flag game I who say na ko. Yes. For now no then I Media Foundation I the fourth estate I Gina Swa one can say corruption.
No. We see and I make say the argument in this particular way very weak, very lame. If you want to raise, we see, I think that communication in this particular way very weak on their part. You see, we have the political side of this thing. We have the legal aspect of this thing. And you can bring in a moral aspect of this. So in this three regard, no, the only one I'll be winning this conversation is the moral side.
Okay.
Because politically it is right. Because John Mahama is an expedited way or any road. He just wanted things to be done. Legally, they will invoke Section 40 of the Procurement Act. And then he will go away.
Okay.
Then the only thing I'll bet him the across the kakraye. Okay. The morally. Mokaya. But the question is why you know Bonebe associated with it?
Sir.
So they should have been able to at least pinpoint a certain wrongdoing. Because the sole sourcing alone cannot be flagged as a scandal.
Cannot be flagged.
No. So sourcing alone cannot be flagged as a scandal unless it can be linked or tainted with other factors, including Nipani crony, including Nipani capacity, including Nipani NDC Yashada Tam Diamano, including Nipani Papa Nadamfo, including Sikana Yadiamano no, Sika on deservo,
and Yadiamano.
And Yadiaman, for instance, Yasikoto phone Webra. Na Oko market ya ebi am fan say 1,000 Ghana cedis. Now that come wa down for say on supply phone we bear 30 famra e office. Now we demand 15 Ghana cedis. That is corruption.
Okay.
What does happen American? That is corruption because you know the price. By ebi akwana payment modalities and arrangement may be a standard and also can be also there. But we know say the street value for the phone is 1,000 Ghana cedis. And under no circumstance, and I bet me inflate, you know, what I said American. So what fourth estate could have done, they say, beyond establishing these numbers, say a year so source a year a contract, you know, they should have gone ahead to say, these are the other multiple infractions that I can Emma so source in ya bonnet, and can if you're minister and care in courtifie. But and I'm say the argument, you know, is just for just to you see they look at the terrain, and legally you will not find anything wrong. Politically, it's one way or the other. But moral argument, you know, at this time, you know, you can't wait and win because when it comes critical, the defensive mechanism they say, okay, but court. Because some of these arguments you are if there has been any legitimate grounds. We just can say Obia is so source into Bonia and can you be them never can know?
I come with the court
and as a Shraj or and Shraj our the capacity clothed with a certain quasi judicial authority to investigate some of these things. So I think some of these things there if we want to get to a point where no sourcing be able to take over because of corruption related, and the best thing to do is to amend the act just to ensure
of which one
now Alaska may say he who comes into equity sometimes must come with clean hands.
Okay.
Assume you are admitting say road Mr. Unfriend saying Agbaja. Yes, why
Agbaja.
Yes, why Bonia Obinye Bido we are seeing the bonnie and say road no or the so source and say omunye road in tentem onya inflate onya nisko onya nyehwe kwabranet na PP ona na central tender ona na approval na koni nyina no ona na so approve na wa contract don come no ton ma na yire ne man na busuafo.
So what has come out of that
Alaska some crofo ye no motiasi apostles of soul sourcing na omonya kokoduro yi couldn't find a decency any day to even condemn that barbaric, that trivial, that if it's a corrupt act now, Papa ne at the time. And today that thing is still hanging. Man for a call say investigations into some of these things must come up immediately just to ensure say these criminals are dealt with. Sabi Ghana for akuma beto mo yam. So what I say na make on cotton contract on board contract don't come you. But kwabrani onu na dwuma no say onshore integrity in public tendering, you know. Onu mum no ton contract. Emma ye pamno man kokotena fie investigation ye ka ho na besi me or tifie. So in this particular regard, you know, I'm looking at the extra information for first state war. When the cancer same way home, but the mere fact is say I so in a man for criticizing the a man for criticizing here because of money and no monam sa no more no contract, you know, some were inflated, some didn't even have source of financing, but yeah, yama. Now, man, for you issue certificate, as a form, fake documents, and then as a form, rose no, I see a road baby, by a contracting as a for. These were the legitimate concerns that man for but wasn't merely the sole sourcing per se. Okay. What I say? So, me, if they have any reason to believe, there has been any wrongdoing. I can't so sourcing no one. I'm bringing up yen never bought what demonstration could have bought one more year. Call mine sick there. Obia and pass your dream. But until that, I think that this particular is a poor job and on my year.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's a poor job because Alaska to raise alarm say oh so sourcing. Yes, you may be concerned. And you see, among for be alarmed when so sourcing is mentioned because of experience at your woman. Okay. Baby, a man for diabo chrono. So whenever so sourcing is mentioned, people link it to corruption. So that is the motivation one want to know, because we have come to a point the public rendition for sole source contract, you know, say okay. So they were not able to distinguish the established public perception, you know, to the reality of what sole sourcing is, and yakatu na boom. But what about today? And I'm saying corruption, young cost, and intelligent people will sit down and disconnect the two. The sole sourcing will stand alone, and then the corruption aspect will stand alone. Okay. The question is, can you connect the two? If you can't, then it means it's a useless job. What does that make? It
is what?
It becomes a useless job.
But the question one may ask and they say, why is it that I say, ever since our NDC, every attempt to be say, yeah, the corruption and a corrupt when be a baby for be an atofem because they thought say the fourth estate there abbey because the would hear the argument of Suleiman Brahma and now MPP yeah the namusi and yena NDC the more yeah. So is this person speaking as maybe a technical person?
You see, most of these guys over years have been dwelling on the political differences between the NDC and the MPP, you know, just to rise to political prominence. That is what they've been doing. Now, no, me baby, I know because I'm so we Musa dan kwaye pools na why no say NDC and MPP I say na flag bearer there and what you guys don't know about pools is that pool, especially political related pools, you know, pools to determine the reality on the ground. Okay. It is also done to shape and influence perception and opinion. That is what people don't know. So remember yaka say oh the whole Ghana me research you Alaska na obia or the best journalist our Accra. It could be true that in reality you are the best journalist, but it could also be a way of me reinforcing that idea. Okay. What I say? So through the research, I'm trying to establish that using academic instrument to reassert a certain authority for you to believe that Alaska is the best, but in reality, and so exactly. If you go to America, the polls, that's what they do. They pay people to do polls for them just to sway public way, because some people are such that they follow that trend. Polls so polls are not always conducted to establish the reality on the ground, but it is also done purposely, especially political ones, you know, to influence opinion. What I say, and the one who the difference in some of these things. So, for instance, Musa Dankwa they were at the channel Bano say, NDC polls, no, I said, don't get you the kind, or NDC poll, no. What is that? There is no reality he's measuring. They are just trying to sell a certain narrative for you to buy in. So what Jane say, he's pulling to establish what is on the ground. But in reality, he is rather establishing a certain reality for you to accept.
Wow.
And once you accept it, I am not saying say but pulls around the world, that is how it is, especially because me, I've been following American politics for quite a long time, and that is what they do. So what Jane say, or measure an existing phenomenon? No. He will be seeking to be measuring an existing phenomenon, but he's establishing a phenomenon for you to accept.
Preparing your mind.
Exactly. And when you're smarter, you force of all these things. So Sunday or more who say at this time, the MPP is desperate trying to come out with a scandal.
Okay.
And I don't know, a source which is within a certain legal remit. But let us push on them a certain moral argument to say, more criticize you more for doing sourcing. And this is why you be. But the thing is, what is the value here? The value here is that every single road be who
These are the legacy projects.
Alaska under the let me give you a breakdown for this big push way. This way Abai has decided say road kilometers or 1,144 kilometers of road across to 50 billion. And yes ajubano. And I no kono omuja 573 kilometers of my contract Alaska sa road no ebi wo ho a under financing sikakura nka ho na asefo no I no so running into about 15 billion sa enti abeka we ho and I'm saying almost bare 65. Okay. Our dear Canadian one, and now over 1,700 and over kilometers of road. Underway. So you can imagine the intensity all the year way now to so. So you need to get to a point but me say you can move to the next phase. The way our corner say you're so sourcing, not a corruption yamba, not a on farmer cronies, young farmer friends, which the Sule Barima fourth estate hasn't been able to establish Suleiman Brahma, right? Hasn't been able to establish that offensive aspect of soul sourcing, but to push in a certain moral narrative, say, or market, and that is the narrative MPP is going around town with.
That's right.
And that is what makes the whole communication a pathetic machinery.
Pathetic.
Oh, very pathetic. Now let's look at the kind of communication, because you see, you cannot say, I'm not criticizing until you see you're criticizing. Without looking at the key element and your friend saying the things involved. The man if I criticize the circumstances, the things. It might be the similar phenomenon. But the thing is that the way you did it, may be slightly different from the way you approach everything. We were in a situation where the entire economy was broken. That alone was a red flag. But today, can you say the economy is broken?
No.
So let's go. So the criticism you expect then, you should not expect it now, because at this time round, certain fundamentals have been fixed, and the person is wrapping up just to ensure that he's getting the job done. And this then, and yes, obi na ebo ni timo, and ofa fakwan we so for when the Kumasi to your friends are Sampa. You will see contractors on the road, and I see weekend I was there. I saw them throughout. And several other places, even Accra had do work as a for contractor over motorway. Look at the speed of what they are. So and yes, or he's doing it. So if he will get people to do the job for us, the answer you want or my what are some make right. But corruption because of they are. But don't think that this time you can wage a moral argument because the people are emotional people and you know you.
But when him say, when wrapping up on this, when him say, ever since President Mahama meet you 3 days ago, all kinds of mufa, one more,
yes,
evidence, any fact on one.
Yeah. And Alaska, you see, that is the difference between John Mahama and Akufo-Addo.
That's right.
This is a president who is bold enough to tell you, say, okay, am I a soul sourcing? Fine. Soul sourcing alone there, because section 40, Bonnie or baby, Yanko blame section 40 because section 40 is so vague to the extent, Alaska, you can do anything and rationalize it within section 40.
Okay.
And also, okay. Say nipa na ye boni am ye president until say obi or no be use platform no dey clear man for no or say cover evidence ne bra niam wo eche say nipa na ya de boni ne bra I will help you to prosecute or do whatever.
The minister no so availing ne ho so be answer
answer all the questions. So that is governance, you see.
I see you.
Because there is nothing. Because you see, some of these so-called academic institutions, as for they don't know who send they throw some of these things in, and the media, a larger section of the media also cheap. They don't interrogate some of these things because me. I know I quite that particular research now there, but my can't say morally I side with you because you see over the years, and I'm so sourcing there among for the Ayentino Alaska, Yenina yet so sourcing penny aboto because Ghana ni o can so sourcing or say a chrono, but so be I so sourcing say question is a chrono no can Ajuma no casano or yeah, and the people are on the road. So sourcing major concern yes among for the inflated price no or the man and for or making sure say sikano 1 cedi or say 30 cedis enti me yentena se mokɔhwɛ mu no muhu saa neema we bia ka ho ma ne ye we now what you know when you Alaska, can you cite corruption? You need to do a good job just to ensure that mere fact that, and you see when people are working, let us help them to work because at the end of the day they are fixing Ghana. Nobody is fixing the Nema me bedroom. And Obi who are fixing a cemetery. Because you Kai almost ya could see Chebiasi
life band.
Nana nipa never been for what I say. So you see, John Mahama has restored a certain normalcy. Ama Ghana enya certain hope and confidence. Yes, the saboteurs will always try to do so. And also, no, obitinchana or Ghana ni na niema nkoye na office niema bi nkoya. You can ask questions. You can criticize. Abaya no makacho sa onye John Mahama na wahu sa tabubu na chi. Wo ahu bi da. Abofo na tabubu mo chi. Wo a fed wins. And the fair wins in mo na chi ni do nipa. Obeti a mistake. Until you find the right time why are the bonnet you criticize him. By baby a bonini no. Men kon confirm say or criticize yenti yes you criticize. Oh yes na say be na adwene na nemu ha.
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Ah nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge without any biases. PENDREAM TV.